That's right. The quarterfinals start tonight. Who better to join us than former Heisman winner Desmond Howard, who's going to be with Game Day Live at the Rose Bowl, where he is now. So thanks for getting up early with us, Desmond. How concerned are you about a hangover from Ohio State losing to Indiana? Are they on upset alert against Miami? I know that was multiple weeks ago, but yet still.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't drink, so I don't know how long hangovers usually last. But, I mean, that was early December, like I think December 6th when they had that game. And obviously, I said I think that Ryan Day didn't know a lot about his team going into that game. But then coming out of the game, he knows a lot about the Buckeyes because at that point, they just hadn't been tested. And I said that week in and week out. I also went on Stephen A's show and said that of all the teams playing championship weekend, that conference championship weekend, that Ohio State had the easiest path to get to their conference championship game. And it showed up against Indiana. That's why I picked the Hoosiers to beat them in the Big Ten championship game. So they've had weeks now to make some adjustments to see, where they had their weaknesses and what strengths that they can, help them in this next game against Miami. But my biggest concern was who was calling the plays. That was my biggest concern because I understood that their OC took the USF job, right? And so I'm like, who's calling the plays in the Big Ten championship game? I heard it was Ryan Day. And now this week, Heather Dinich came out and said that Ryan Day is going to call the plays in the game against Miami. So I said, well, does this mean he didn't call in the Big Ten championship game, or did he make some tweaks to the system? I'm not sure what happened offensively. Don't forget, they only scored 10 points against Indiana, and they were shut out in the second half. So I'm not sure what was going on that game. I think they tried to change the system, Mad Dog. But Ryan Day has come out this week and said he's calling the plays in this game against Miami. So we'll see if there's going to be a big difference offensively from the Buckeyes from what we saw the last time they played, which was the Big Ten championship game.
And Shay, Desmond doesn't know this. How many people do you think, Desmond, on a side note, saw you in the building win the Heisman against Ohio State and was also in the building when you won the Super Bowl against the Patriots with those kickoff returns? How many people do you think were in the building for both of those games 35 years ago? I was. I just want to make sure I told you that.
Okay, good job.
Not many people would know that. Right now, listen, I think the whole key to the game, well, listen, the Mendoza thing, I'm a little worried about the Heisman. He's got a little more pressure on him right now. Everybody knows he won the Heisman. He's played really well. He's had a big year. He made 4 or 5 great passes against Ohio State when he had to there, of course, in Indianapolis. You'll wonder now, there are examples of the Heisman Trophy winner coming out a little flat in the bowl game. Listen, Alabama, they got nothing to lose. This is all about Indiana, and I know we got Ohio State here too, but let's do Mendoza here as far as the ball game is concerned down in the Rose Bowl. What is your take on him bouncing back off what has been an incredible year and a lot of juice the last 3 or 4 weeks against this Alabama defense? What's your take about that? Let me hear.
Yeah, I tell you what, Mad Dog, Mendoza's had a fantastic season, and I think that it's not about him. It's much more about his head coach. I just think that their coach, Signetti, is the type of coach who can prepare them mentally for this stage. This is a huge stage. I mean, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. I have conversations all the time with Herb Street, and we're of the opinion that the national championship game should be played here every year, no matter what. This is the best venue that college football has to offer to watch a college football game, second to only University of Michigan's The Big House in Ann Arbor. But with that being said, I think that Kurt Signetti is going to have his team ready. They're going to be mentally prepared. They're going to be dialed in. I mean, what he's been able to do in his first 2 seasons in Bloomington has been just outstanding. So I think that group, they'll be dialed in for the Rose Bowl tomorrow against Alabama. They know what's at stake.
That's right. And to your point, Mad Dog, we haven't seen a Heisman winner in the CFP in the last 3 seasons. This is a little bit new territory now. Both Indiana, Ohio State's pretty heavy favorites in their matchups. Which team do you have more questions about as you sit here today? Obviously, Ohio State will play tonight. Indiana will play tomorrow, Des.
Yeah, tonight, Ohio State's game against Miami. My biggest question has been Ohio State's offense and going up against great defenses. When you look at their schedule, they've only played two top 20 defenses all year long. The first game against Texas, and then obviously the last time we saw them on the field, the Big Ten championship game against the Hoosiers. Against Texas, they scored 14 points, won that game 14-7. It was a very just lackluster, underwhelming game on both sides. And then obviously the Big Ten championship game. They're going up against another top defense, top 20 defense in the Indiana Hoosiers. They scored 10 points, and they got shut out the whole second half. And we're talking about a group with Ohio State Buckeyes that every year you're talking about their recruiting classes, top 5 recruiting classes, 5 stars, 4 stars falling out of Ryan Day's pockets. You had a quarterback in Julian Sayin, who was in New York as a Heisman finalist. So you have all this firepower, all this talent, but yet and still they scored 10 points against Indiana, got shut out the whole second half. So my question is, how are they going to look against, to me, by far, the best, most athletic defense that they've seen all year long? I was in College Station, and I'm going to tell you, man, Akeem Mesidor, Reuben Bain Jr., those dudes for the Hurricanes, they are serious. They're for real. You're probably talking about 2 NFL first-round picks, and that whole defense flies around. So that's what I want to see. People are talking about Carson Beck, Miami's quarterback, and what he didn't do. It was very windy at College Station, but he's the only one in this matchup that has the background where he's played in big games. Don't forget, he just came from Georgia. He was playing in the SEC. But Julian Sayin, Ohio State's quarterback, he doesn't have that background. He's a first-year starter. So we don't know how he's going to respond under duress from a defense like the Miami Hurricanes.
Interesting game there, obviously in the Sugar Bowl tomorrow night. Ole Miss, Georgia does. Let's ask you this. One, Georgia's got a major chip on their shoulder. They lost last year. I got a funny feeling they're raring to go. And 2, as a huge coaching advantage for Georgia, because you got to listen, the Ole Miss kid, this is a tough spot for him. Second game of his life. This is not Tulane. I mean, this is Georgia against Kirby, who knows how to win. That makes it tricky for Ole Miss. I think they're in a tough spot against the Bulldogs. What's your take with that? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Mad Dog, obviously the last part of the season, like the last month of the regular season, going into conference championship Saturday, all the talk was about Ole Miss's former head coach, Lane Kiffin. And where was he going to go? Was he going to stay? Was he going to go to LSU? If he went to LSU, was he going to coach his team? But that's all those players heard for like 4 weeks. No one talked about their accomplishment on the field, how great they were, the things that they achieved as a team. So I think they're excited to go out and move forward without Lane Kiffin and show that they can get it done without him. Don't forget, these teams, they played before. And Ole Miss, they scored on their first 5 possessions, but then Georgia ended up outscoring Ole Miss 17-0 in the fourth quarter. So I think that Ole Miss has a revenge on their mind. I think that they have, we want to prove that we can do it without Lane Kiffin. But, Mad Dog, you hit it on the head. This Georgia team is playing its best football right now. You want to peak at the best time. Defensively, we couldn't recognize who they were early in the season. They couldn't even get a sack. But then the last part of the season, they started to look like a Kirby Smart defense. They started to look like a Georgia team. Very resilient team. They have no quit in them. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. I can't wait. I'm excited about this game.
Yeah, and the revenge factor is huge as well. Let's go to the Orange Bowl. Last one here between Oregon and Texas Tech. Oregon right now slightly favored. Who, Des, would you give the edge to in this matchup? Oregon offense or Tex D?
Wow, that's a really, really good question because Dante Moore, he's just an outstanding quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. He's had a fantastic year, but you hit it on the head when you talked about Texas Tech's D. This is this group brings in the most expensive defense in all of college football, and they've paid off big dividends so far for the Red Raiders. And the last time we saw Dante Moore and the Oregon Ducks against a top-notch defense, it was actually in Eugene, and they played the Indiana Hoosiers. And he caught, well, not only Dante, but that offense, they caught hell that afternoon. Indiana's front 7 dominated the trenches, and now they're going to go up against a Texas Tech Red Raiders defense that's just as talented, if not more talented, than the Hoosiers defense. So that's going to be the biggest the biggest thing to look at, I think that defenses travel, so I would give the edge to the Red Raiders defense. I think they're going to step up and prove that they're just not like a flash in the pan, because you do hear some people say, well, who have they played? Who have they beat? I'm like, well, they traveled to Austin Stadium, and they beat the Oregon Ducks. So I would give the edge right now to the Red Raiders defense.
Yeah, 39 sacks this year. They like to get after the quarterback. That's 6th in FBS. This will be a good matchup as well. We're looking forward to tonight and tomorrow. Des, thank you so much. And as a reminder, you can catch Desmond and the rest of the Game Day crew live at the Rose Bowl tomorrow right here on ESPN starting